What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Today we're going to talk about something that's going on one of the forums, and I don't know why this shit keeps getting beaten like a fucking, just over and over again. It came up where Phil Hernan was talking openly about different macro breakdowns, different nutrients in different foods, clean foods versus not clean foods, which seems to send a chill up some people's spine for some reason. And this individual comes in, I don't even know his fucking name, and he starts this big debate about how science says it doesn't fucking really matter. Science says it doesn't matter where the carb sources come from. Science says it doesn't matter whether or not you eat cake or a sweet potato. Science says it doesn't matter as long as you track your calories and macros. It doesn't matter. Now, inside this discussion, we had some very scientific guys. One of them, Dan Newmeyer, if you guys know him, Gooey, he's Steve Kukel's training partner, and a couple other guys who chimed in and flat out, or, one guy, he said, he broke it down real easily. He said, flat out that there's no fucking way that you can literally calculate what goes on in your body daily. It changes daily. Energy expenditure, even if you're sick, if you have a slight head cold and you don't even know it, your body burns calories at a different rate than it normally does. There's things that are so many different variables to what goes on besides how many calories you've taken in and how many calories you burnt. And you don't even truly know, what fats that you're taking in are being used, how they're being used, what sugars are being taken and how they're being used. You don't really know. All you know is a caloric income that as long as it's below this, I'm going to lose fat, which is true. Or you're going to lose weight. Not necessarily fat, but you're going to lose weight. So I said, all right. So before I even chime into this shit, let me go look at this guy and see who this guy is talking. Because if he looks like fucking super shredded and he looks fucking great, it's hard to argue with a guy like that because he's doing it. It works. Now, I go over and he used to be very fat. Now he's just kind of fat. I said, okay, this is why. This is why this guy is making this argument. Because he's the average person, which, let's face facts. It's okay. Not everybody's going to walk into the gym and become a competitive bodybuilder. Not everybody's going to go in the gym and actually understand what works, how it works. They're just going to say, oh, well, I eat less and I get leaner. I've heard that so many times. I just eat less and I get thinner, or I get smaller. They don't say necessarily leaner, but smaller or thinner. I don't weigh my stuff. I do weigh my stuff. I don't track stuff. I do track stuff. There's a whole bunch of different, things that you'll get. So I look at this guy and I see him arguing with these other guys who are actually competitive bodybuilders who have taken their body to a whole completely different level. Now, drugs, no drugs, whatever. Take the drugs out of the fucking thing because I'm sick of hearing about, well, drugs make the difference. Drugs make your body more efficient, which means that if you're on anabolic steroids, you should be able to get away with eating more junk than the average person. But that's not the case. You eat steroids, you blow up, you completely look like a lot more like shit if you're eating shit food. There's plenty of people out there on the juice that look like total shit. I've heard so many times that Anadrol bloats you. Well, I know people that have used Anadrol right up to a contest, including myself, and didn't bloat. Why? Because my diet wasn't full of cheeseburgers and fucking Pop-Tarts. That's why. So it does make a difference, the food, even when you're on anabolics. So I'm watching this whole thing transpire, and he's arguing, he's citing this study, and he's citing that study, and he's saying this, and he's saying that. Then he calls me out and says, you know what? Post a picture of Alberto Nunez, okay, because he does this. And I said, what the fuck? Okay, first of all, there's very few people in the entire fucking world, okay? The entire world, the scope of the world, not even in America, in the world, who get as shredded as Alberto Nunez. Olympians, Mr. Olympia competitors don't get as shredded as Alberto Nunez. And yes, he is flexible dieting. He does flexible dieting. I'm not sure exactly what foods he eats, but he preaches flexible dieting. However, the missing part is that's part of Alberto's genetics, is to be able to get that lean. Alberto also has clients that he trains. None of his clients look like him. Don't get me wrong. They look good and they get in shape. But he cannot produce the results on his clients that he produces on himself, specifically because that's his genetic makeup. And that gets pointed at. They say, well, he did this, he did that. Well, look at him. Well, that's his genetic makeup. That's how that works. Okay? Now, the other thing that... Hey, buddy. Yeah, we're making a video. It's like a flexible dieting one again. No, you're shaking your head. No, you don't want to. Okay, well, we're going to do it anyways. Okay. So, another thing that gets missing over time also is... I'm looking at this guy, and it's, he's not a competitive bodybuilder. I said, this guy doesn't know what it's like. He doesn't know what it's like to stand backstage, and you strip down, and you're looking at the other guys, and you're like, fuck, these guys are pretty good. And the first thing that runs through your mind, or my mind, is, did I train hard enough? Okay? Did I put enough effort into it? Did I give it my all? Did I give it my best? And that includes diet. Did I diet hard enough? Did I diet long enough? Even people flexible to dieting, did I diet long enough? But did I diet hard enough, meaning did I have too many refeeds? Okay, did I slow my progress too much by fucking up things that I shouldn't have? Is this going to cost me, let's face facts. If I kept Pop-Tarts all the way up to my show, is that going to cost me on stage? Is that going to cost me all the hard work that I put into it to achieve my goal of winning this show? This guy does not know what that's like. He has no idea. He's never stepped on a stage. He never will step on a stage. And he'll never be lean. He's still fat. Let's face facts. But when you stand on stage, you sit back and you go, and I'm sure this has happened to you guys, some of you guys out there, when you realize I should have done this, I should have done that. That's a terrible feeling. Now, I'll bet you dimes to dollars the guys that are literally eating the junk food straight up to the show are getting beat somewhere. Somewhere they're getting beat. Somewhere they're not attaining their ultimate goal because they couldn't give up the junk food. Plain and simple. They science this and science that, and next thing you know, they're in third place, second place, fourth place, and there's only like maybe five guys in the class. I'm sitting there going, how the fuck, if you had this whole thing down to a science, you knew how science worked, and you read all the studies, and you knew how it worked, why didn't you go on there looking like Alberto Nunez and fucking smoke everybody and win the whole fucking thing and take your pro card naturally? Because that's not the way it works. Okay, that's absolutely not the way it works. And you only have a couple people that actually get into that kind of shape eating like that, and people point at them and they forget genetics. Okay, there was an article in a recent MD that we should talk about at some point. It'll have to be another video, but Ronnie Coleman's genetics were tested at the 2013 Mr. Olympia last year. His hormonal situation came back with certain hormones that you don't take. Like, you don't take these are not hormones that you inject or anything. It was amazing what they found out about him. And like I said, we're going to go about it later. But essentially, Ronnie was able to recover so fast from workouts that he was able to handle 700-pound squats twice a week. That was part of his actual genetic makeup. The certain growth factors and stuff that were in his body when they tested him were there. There was actually another split. It was a certain muscle fiber type that he was made up of that it makes it almost impossible for him to actually get fat. Which means that when he's as bloated as he looks, as bloated as he is, and he looks fat, if you pinch his skin, there's not a lot of fat in there. It's mostly water. Which is amazing because, people would point at Ronnie and say, well, Ronnie's the best, Ronnie's the best. Yeah, he was absolutely the best. But Ronnie's genetic makeup is what made him the best. Yes, he trained hard, but there's a lot of people out there training that hard. But also his genetics allowed him to train that hard. So be aware. It's not about fucking, junk food, or it's not about diets. It's not about fucking training. It's not about all these things. It boils down to genetics in the long run. The genetics dictate how well you're going to respond to a diet. The genetics dictate how lean you're going to get, how big you're going to get, how you respond to anabolic steroids, how certain foods affect you. Fucking genetics is responsible for sleep patterns. Skin fucking patterns, cancer. You name it. Genetics is responsible for all that stuff. So before you get on the forums and start shooting your mouth off about how fucking science this, science that, and this is how you should do it, and you look nothing like the fucking people that you're talking about, which if you had the way you understood it, you should look like them. Okay? So the way science works is they go bing, 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 bing. Okay, we now have a way through studies that has proven this. Well, you should be able to do those steps and look like that person that you're talking about. But you don't. Why? Are you fucking running your diet? Why don't you come out and say, hey, I don't do my diet right? No, I'm still. Okay, so you're doing your diet, you're training. Why don't you look like that? Because your genetics are not like that person's. Plain and simple. So biostraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biostraining.com is our blog, and where I got a shoulder injury, so there's not going to be no bicep for a while. So I'm Bios3, and I approve this message, and we're out.